Perfect Days is a German-Japanese co-production directed by Wim Wenders and written by Wim Wenders and Takuma Takasaki. And it stars Koji, Yakusho, Tokio Emoto, and Arisa Nakano. The plot follows Hirayama, played by the truly amazing Koji Yakusho, an older man who lives in Tokyo and works as a janitor. And that really is essentially the plot, or at least the general outline of the plot. I guess you could call it a character study for lack of a much better term, but this is just so much more than that. I mean, you spend the entire runtime with Hirayama. In fact, you kind of see the world through his eyes. The other characters are very minor, yet their contributions are quite important. So you might expect this to be maybe a depressing film based on what I've told you, but that isn't really the vibe I want you to get if you haven't seen this yet. Hirayama is a man who lives his life to the best of his abilities, and he finds happiness in many things that a lot of us just completely overlook. He doesn't have a TV, or a smartphone, or a computer. He listens to music on cassette tapes, which is baffling to the younger people who know him. He reads books every night. After work, he rides his bike around the city and stops at small diners for dinner. He has a small plant collection that he takes care of, and every morning as he steps outside to head to work, he smiles as he feels the sun on his face. He's also a man of few words. Whether he's interacting with restaurant employees or bookstore owners, his younger coworker, or even his nephew, he rarely actually talks. I'd be surprised if he had a total of like 10 lines in this film, and it somehow really fucking works. He uses his facial expressions and hand gestures to communicate, which is part of the masterful performance you get here from Koji Yakusho. And I have to mention, the only other film I've seen him in was 13 Assassins, where he gave my absolute favorite performance out of all the characters in that film. He is the one that really, really stood out to me. And let me tell you, I mean, now that I've seen his incredibly impressive range, I can't wait to see more of this guy. So far, I've seen him play a samurai and a janitor, and he's blown my mind each time. Anyways, you might be wondering where I'm going with this review, or what exactly the point of this film really is. At the end of the day, I mean, I think the intention was to inspire, and for me, it did just that. I mean, when was the last time you took time to appreciate trees or flowers or the sun shining on your face? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm guilty about all of that too, every single day, especially lately. Like a lot of people, like a lot of you guys, I'm sure, I'm caught up in the current social and political climate. And, I forget that there's so much more than that if you just look for it. But the third act, though, is where things start to change a little bit, adding so much depth to this film. And it's because you start to see a glimpse of what Hirayama's life may have been like at one point. And I mean, I don't really watch a lot of films like this, but I loved it. Just absolutely beautiful. A masterwork in storytelling and pacing, and a reminder of what society could be like if we took the time to remember how much worse things could be, and that we have a lot to be happy about no matter what's going on around us. And also be patient with people, because everyone has a story, and they need someone to take a minute and listen to them sometimes. I'm giving Perfect Days an absolute 10 out of 10. Look, I'm not a professional critic, probably won't ever be, but in no way could I find any criticism here. Koji Yakusho gives my favorite performance of probably this year, and doing so while rarely speaking. This is one of those rare films that I'll still think about consistently days after I watch it, probably weeks, and I likely won't ever really forget it. Go check this one out. I think you owe it to yourself. Cheers, guys.